absolute value equations. Lesson 2.2 is on solving absolute value equations. So we graphed the functions, now we're going to solve the equations. Okay, so the first one says solve the equation here. 2 times the absolute value of x minus 5 minus 4 equals 2. First off, what do you notice about this? What form is that in? Standard form, right? I didn't use that vocabulary too much, but that's standard form of an absolute value function, which is f of x equals a times the absolute value of x minus h plus k. Okay? So we know here that the vertex is at 5, negative 4. Okay? And so this first bit is solving absolute value equations graphically. So we have this equation here, and we want to solve it, but we want to use graphing. We want to solve it graphically. All right? So we're going to graph it. Okay? So we start with our vertex, which is at 5, negative 4. We've done this many times now. And our slope is what, class? 2. So I go over 1, up 2, over 1, up 2, over and up. Yes?
If it's 2, then you go up 2.
Yeah, same deal. Exactly. Good job. Okay. So that's cool. But the question is, I want to figure out where this is equal to 2. Yes, ma'am?
Did you plot it at 5 or 6?
Oh, at 6. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you. So this goes over by 2. Very good catch. So I got to go over 1, up 2, over 1, up 2. It's a little confusing, but you can do it. Thank you, Anna. Okay. Hello.
Hey, sorry to interrupt. Can you scan this real quick?
Okay, of course.
You might
Oh,
push it on.
it's for what? Oh,
You need to.
sorry.
You look excited.
Amen.
Did she say anything about the money? Okay.
Oh,
Thank you.
you're welcome. All right. So now I've got the graph of this function, but there's another part of this equation. What's the other part of the equation? That it equals 2. Hallelujah. So if it equals 2, what should I plot here to find out where it's going to equal 2? Any ideas? Well, if I'm asking where this function's equal to 2, well, it's pretty clear that it's equal to 2 here and here. You see that? But if I want to actually just show something graphically, then I'll do a line at y equals 2. And where that line intersects my graph is where my function is equal to 2. You see? So that's at x equals 2 or x equals 8. You guys understand how this is solving the equation graphically? Does that make sense to you guys? We're plotting the function and seeing where it intersects this line y equals 2. Does that make sense to you guys? So when we're solving an equation graphically, that's how we're going to do it with absolute value. Yes, ma'am?
Did you get the 8 again?
Right here. You see it? Okay.
And then you got the 2 because it's A.
No. Right here. This is, you see these 2 points?
Yeah.
Where those 2 points, where the absolute value function intersects the line y equals 2 is right here at 2.
Yeah, but for when you said like we know that it's equal to 2.
For right here on part B, this one right here?
No, at A.
Oh, we know that A is equal to 2 because that 2 right there, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, now reflect. Why might you expect most absolute value equations to have 2 solutions? Why? Because, right, you got this V shape here. It's going to intersect twice, right? Why not 3 or 4? Is it possible for one line to intersect this 3 or 4 times? No. You have to like curve back around or something, right? Could it have one solution? Where would it have to intersect? At the what? At the vertex. Could it have 0 solutions? Yeah. What if the line is down here? Then it's 0 solutions. You see that? So that's how to solve a function like that graphically. Okay? Now, I'd like you to go ahead and do this homework question, number 1. It's for your homework anyway, and so you guys can get some practice now. So go ahead and do that. So you're going to graph the function, then you're going to graph that line, and you'll find the points of intersection. That's how you do it. Okay. First off, where's the vertex? The vertex is at 3, 2. Does anyone not understand that? Sometimes I think you guys don't want to ask questions. You secretly all have questions. I have nightmares about that. No, I'm just kidding. All my students have math questions and they don't ask them. I'm just like, oh. No. All right, what's the slope? 1. The slope is 1 because there's nothing in front of there, so the slope is 1. If there's a 2, it would be 2. You see?
But this one, they just reversed it. Like, this one set up just like that one, but then they put it in this form, so they brought the 2 in front.
I shouldn't do that. That's it. Oh, no. The 2 is already there. Sorry. Okay. Okay, so the slope is 1, right? So the vertex is at 3, 2. So I find 3, and then go to 2. And then the slope is 1. So I go over 1, up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1, up 1. Any questions on plotting this? All right, now what do? I plot the line y equals 5. And I find the points of intersection. Bam, and bam. So that's x equals 0 and 6. Any questions on that? You guys got that? Either way is fine. I like that way better because it saves time. X equals 0, comma 6. That's accurate. Okay? Okay. So, let's continue, shall we? All right. 2 solutions, right? Cool. All right. Now, I'm going to go offline a little bit here because I want to show you before I just march through the book way. Okay? Let's say I have that same function, okay? X minus 3 plus 2 equals 5. My question is, x minus 3 plus 2 equals 5. Okay? Absolute value of x minus 3 plus 2 equals 5. Now let's say I don't want to graph this because I just don't want to take the time. Honestly, I would never solve this using a graph. It's good to solve it using a graph at first because it helps you to understand. But you would never solve this, you'd never graph this to solve this because it's much easier just to do it algebraically. So let's say I want to solve it algebraically. Well, the first step is to isolate the absolute value. Okay? The first step is to isolate the absolute value. What's another way to say isolate? Ben.
I know how to isolate it, but I don't know another word.
Okay. By itself, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we isolate the absolute value. It means we get it by itself, right? So if I want to get this absolute value by itself, what should I do? Subtract 2 from both sides. Okay. I end up with the absolute value of x minus 3 equals 3. Second step. Drop the absolute value, brackets. So the second step is as simple as that. Once I've isolated it, I drop the brackets. But I'm not done. Third step is write the opposite equation. That's a really confusing kind of way of saying it, but I don't know how to say it in a very concise way. What you do is you write another equation, but instead of x minus 3 equals positive 3, it's x minus 3 equals negative 3. And the reason why we do this is because an absolute value of x minus 3 could be positive or negative, and the absolute value would make it the same thing, see? Yes, ma'am.
Why wouldn't it be x plus 3 if it's an absolute value?
Because what I'm doing is I'm taking the negative of this whole thing, which is easier if I just apply the negative to this number. It's like x minus 3 could be, look, for instance, the solution is 6. 6 minus 3 is 3, right? So that would work. Or 0, because if I do 0 minus 3, that's what? Negative 3, but then I take the absolute value and it's positive 3. So this inside of here, it could be plus 3 or it could be minus 3, you see? So x minus 3 could be positive 3 or it could be negative 3. And since I'm taking the absolute value, it makes it.
So you're not really looking at the x minus 3, you're looking at its answer?
Exactly. And making that negative. Does that make sense? Okay. So write the opposite equation. So, and then the fourth step is solve. Fourth step is solve. You know what, I came... Make the other side negative. That's a better way to say it. Sorry, class. Rather than opposite equation, make the other side negative. That's a better way to say it. Okay? And then the fourth step is solve both equations. Oh, see, that's not even. Make the other side negative in another equation. You guys get it. We'll get it. All right, look. Add 3 to both sides on this one. X equals 6. Add 3 to both sides on this one. X equals 0. So what are my solutions? X equals 0 and x equals 6. Well, let's take a look. What did I get for graphically when I did it? It's not a mystery. It's 0 and 6. You see? You guys get that? Okay. All right. Now let's do the other one that we did first. Okay. So absolute value of 2 times the absolute value of x minus, what is it?
X minus 5.
5.
Absolute. And then minus 4 is 2.
Minus 4 equals 2. Okay, so first step is isolate the absolute value. So what should I do first here? If I want to get this by itself, what should I do first? Add 4 to both sides. Yes? We good?
Yeah.
Okay, we're back to our first example. Okay, our first example question. We'll do that. We'll do that one. Okay. Now, you see this? 2 times the absolute value of x minus 5 minus 4 equals 2. The first thing I do is I want to isolate it, so I add 4 to both sides. Yes, sir? Okay. What do I do now? What do I do now? Yeah. Are you guys following this? Absolute value of x minus 5 equals 6 divided by 2 is 3. Yeah? Good? We can close our computers, guys. We don't need our computers anymore. Okay. Now what do? drop the absolute value, x minus 5 equals 3, but then I have to write the opposite equation, right? X minus 5 equals negative 3. I think that was probably the best way to say it. X minus 5 equals 3, and x minus 5 equals negative 3. Got it? And then I do what? I solve both. So I add 5 to both sides here. I get x equals 8. I add 5 to both sides here. I get x equals 2. So my answer is x equal 2 or 8. And hey, what do you know? X equals 2 or x equals 8. You see? So you can solve it graphically, you can solve it algebraically, it doesn't matter, you'll get the same exact answers. Yes, ma'am?
So if you're given a problem like this, do you want to see both?
It'll tell you in the beginning of your homework, it says solve it graphically. And the reason why it's good to solve it graphically first is because then you can have a visual understanding of what it looks like in your mind, and then you can do it algebraically, and then you can kind of understand what the idea is, but then you're just cranking away. Cool? All right, you're welcome. Now, so here, if you want to go through it in your book, it says solving absolute value equations algebraically. It says solve each absolute value equation algebraically and graph the solutions on a number line. So it does this one here as an example. So let's do B. It says, okay, you have 3 times the absolute value of 4x minus 5 minus 2 equals 19. So first, you add 2 to both sides. So instead of 19, this is going to be equal to what, class? 21. Then, you're going to divide both sides by 3. What's 21 divided by 3? 7. Now, you rewrite, oh, that's how your book says, that's good. Rewrite as 2 equations, okay. Rewrite as 2 equations, so 7 or 4x minus 5 equals negative 7. Okay? And once you've done that, you solve. Add 5 to all sides. So here it'll be 12. Negative 7 plus 5 is negative 2. And then solve for x by dividing by 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3. And negative 2 divided by 4 is negative 2 over 4, or negative 1/2. And then if I want to plot this on the number line, I just go to 3, bam, and negative 1/2 is right here. And I've got my solution. Is that clear? Good. Class, just because we're winding down a little bit in our time, if you got a quiz grade that is a failing quiz grade, which means that it's like 22, like 24, 25 or below points, then I highly recommend that you come see me either during lunch or after school, and you get started on doing extra work. There's tons of resources. I'm not going to be like grading any extra work that you guys do, but I have tons of resources that can help you. Okay, I'm teaching this class a little bit differently. Raise your hand if you heard anything about this class before you came into it. No? A couple of people? Probably people told you it was really easy. Maybe. Well, I'm teaching a class this year a lot differently than I taught last year. And the reason why is because I got through basically like 30% of the material and kind of went much slower and people understood it, but the thing is at the end of the year, though the material was understood, the amount of material that was gained wasn't enough, or wasn't at the, I feel like we didn't meet the potential that was possible. So I'm going a little bit faster this year than I did last year. So it's going to be challenging in some regards. So I'm asking you guys to rise to the challenge. With that being said, I'm not leaving you guys alone. There are tons of resources that you have available to you, but you're going to have to take the initiative to use them. Okay? So if you got a quiz grade and you go home and you're like, wow, that's rough, don't let it discourage you, let it encourage you. Come see me and we'll figure something out. Is that clear? Okay. All right. So, now, absolute value equations with fewer than 2 solutions. So let's take a look at this one. We have 3/5, 2x minus 4 minus 3 equals negative 3. So what do we do first? We add 3 to both sides. And negative 3 plus 3 is 0. Then multiply both sides by 5/3. But what's 0 times anything? 0. Okay, we drop the absolute value equations. But wait, usually we would rewrite as 0 and negative 0. But that doesn't make any sense. It's just 0, right? Then I'll add 4 to both sides. I get 4. Divide by 2, I get 2. So wait a second. How many solutions do I have? 1 solution. Which means graphically, where did that line intersect my graph? At the vertex. You see? So it's possible to have 1 solution. That means that solution is at the vertex. You see? Is that clear? And then there's a couple example problems down here to do. Any questions on that? You see the process? The process is actually relatively simple. Solving it graphically, you graph it and then graph that line. Solving it algebraically, this process is fairly simple. You just have to remember how to do it. And class, check it out. On the quiz, a couple of things that I noticed was like there was process breakdown. When there's process breakdown, it means that there's not enough practice. So you got to make sure that not only are you doing the homework, but you're going back and looking at the homework and maybe going above and beyond and doing some extra work and doing some extra practice. Okay. So now let's look at another one. Let's look at number 5 together. So here we have 3 times the absolute value of 1/2 x plus 5 plus 7 equals 5. What do I do first? Subtract 7. 3 times the absolute value of 1/2 x plus 5 equals 5 minus 7 is negative 2. What do I do now, class? Divide by 3. Good. That cancels. And I have the absolute value of 1/2 x plus 5 equals negative 2/3. But wait a second. Who sees something wrong? Yes, ma'am.
You have to take
No, not just yet. That was a good idea if I had to go there, but yes.
absolute value equation.
Yes. This is equaling a negative number. 1 second. Is that what you were going to say, Flo?
I was actually asking a question.
Okay. So this inside of the absolute value, and then it equals a negative number. Can the absolute value ever be negative? No. So what does this tell you? How many solutions does this have?
Infinite.
No solutions. No solutions. No solutions. Okay. What would this look like graphically? Well, it would look like this, and then a line like down here or something. You see? That function is never equal to that value. You see? So that's no solutions. So if you ever get an absolute value equal to a negative, first off, check your work. Maybe you made a mistake. But second off, if you checked your work and you were like, I didn't make a mistake, then it's very possible, and well, it's actually truth. If you didn't make a mistake, then it's no solutions. Okay? Is that clear to everybody? Any questions on that? Yes, sir.
After you subtract and you get a negative,
Mm-hmm.
you just stop right there.
Yep. Mm-hmm. You just stop right there, exactly. Now, I wouldn't necessarily stop right there because maybe you missed something, but if you subtract and you get a negative and you realize there's nothing else to add or subtract anywhere, you're done. Okay? The only other possibility, though, is what if this was a negative 3, class? What if that was a negative 3? Then I would have divided by a negative, and that would have made this what? Positive, right? So that's why you got to be careful, okay? All right, so I would just say isolate the absolute value fully, and then check if it's negative. If it's negative, it's no solution. Got it? Okay. Any other questions? No. Okay, so homework. Homework is oh, I don't have it up yet. Oh. Homework is page page 65, numbers 1 through 17. Okay, so it's a little bit more homework than we've had in the past. 65, numbers 1 through 17. But it's for good reason. It's because I want you guys to have enough practice. Number 17 is a word problem. I really want you to crank your brains against that one and see how you can do. Are there any other questions? Any questions? Now, the only other thing, too, is lesson 2.3. Watch the videos, as always, okay? And we do have a test next week, okay? We get back. You guys are going to have class on Wednesday. Oh, wait, you guys we're missing a class. Looks like it's actually going to be not next week, but the week after, because we'll do lesson 2.3 here, and then, oh no, it is going to be next week. Next week on Thursday. Your test is next week, Thursday. We're doing lesson 2.3, but check it out. Listen, we're not doing a review day, guys. We're not doing a review day. We're not doing a review day. So that means you guys have to make sure you're doing your homework, you're keeping up with it. Look, the next time I see you is Wednesday of next week, okay? It's almost a week from today. That's like 5 days from right now. 5, whatever it is, okay? So you guys got to make sure you're studying during this time. I know you got a long weekend, but you got to make sure you're understanding the material and studying, watching videos, watching the YouTube, checking with me, sending me emails, and getting up on it, because Thursday next week is our first test, okay? Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.